Right, welcome back to the second installment of the Frantz Foamworks The Box, which is a kind of a loot crate designed by people in the hobby for people in the hobby, and this particular one is for people who are new to the hobby. These are some of the most basic and important tools that you need if you're going to start modding, especially modding springers. And you will need these tools for some of the upcoming boxes. The ones that are coming out in the next couple of months are going to require, or at least definitely be a lot easier if you had these tools. And these are all tools that I have been using in the hobby since the beginning. Not these particular ones, but I have my own versions of all of these, and they are some of the most common tools that I still use in builds, even though I have fancier tools, Dremels and power tools and bench sanders and drill presses. These tools still tend to get a lot of use because they really do work very, very well. So I'm going to go over what you will be getting in this kit, and I will also be demonstrating how you can use all of these tools. So one note before that, this box is sponsored by CaptainXavierNerf, so you will get a CaptainXavierNerf patch, which I actually didn't have this patch, so I'm actually really stoked to have gotten it. Remember kids, Clowny's watching. Good stuff. Check him out. He's out on the net. You can find him, and it is awesome. So the tools that we have a set of spring-loaded needle nose pliers, which are actually really nice, good size, good spring. A P0 screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, and the two most common sizes that I've found in Nerf are going to be P0 and P1. Some screws fit better for others, but the P0 will work in pretty much anything, and some you have to use a P0. If you go to a P1, the screw holes are too large and you won't actually be able to fit it in, like the Strife, for instance. You then also get a 32nd standard screwdriver, flat screwdriver, which is also a very common tool for many uses. A pair of side nippers. These are used for all manner of shell cutting and other tinkerings, and then of course a pipe cutter. So how do all of these end up getting used? Well, let's take a look. So I have a blaster here, a beat up old Fire Strike. Obviously the Phillips works for the screws. I do like the size that they went with. It is a very nice compact one. This is one you could tuck in your pocket or put in your pouch or gear or whatever, and have it with you in the field. So it works for the screws. One place that the flathead will come in is if some shells are either clipped together or just have really strong posts holding them in. You can use this as a wedge to get it open. Just be careful not to mar up your shell too much whilst doing it. It's also great for clearing up supports and stuff off 3D printed things. I will often use a flathead screwdriver to clip those out. So that will get us in. Where you will end up using the needle nose pliers, one of the common places will be to pull out pins. If there are pins that things are hinged on, you may often need pliers to pull them out. But it is also incredibly useful in springers, and this is actually the perfect example, when the plunger head doesn't come off. So there's no easy way to get the plunger head off in order to get the spring off. And the easiest way that I have found, or at least one of the better ways, is using a pair of needle nose pliers. You're going to grab the spring at the top where the end is flattened, and you're going to twist it until you can get it off the side of the plunger rod. And once you're able to get the first ring all the way off, like so, now you can simply twist the spring and it will come off. And that is how you can get it off. It may mar up the plunger rod a little bit, but you can clean that up, oddly enough, with your flathead screwdriver. Just shave it off, kind of like a file. It's not as good as an actual file, but if you don't have one, it will work. And then getting the spring on the other way, you can use the same thing, as you're going to use your needle-nosed pliers to bend the spring back on to the post, and then once you get it going, you can simply thread it back on. So, one of the better uses of needle nose pliers, especially in simple springers, is getting that spring on and off. The nippers are, of course, good for cutting shell. So I just have a bit of barrel post. And it is absolutely fantastic for cutting Nerf plastic. They're strong enough. Don't try to cut too thick or too much at a time. You're generally going to use it for really small cuts. And that's what's so nice about them, is you have incredibly fine control. You can take off just the tiniest amounts. And you can also cut off large parts. They allow for very fine motor control, very minimal amounts to be taken off, and you know exactly where you're cutting, exactly where you're stopping. You don't have to worry about taking too much off, and you can always take off just a little bit more. And they are really, really nice about that. And they cut even, so the blade is flat, and you can cut an actual flat edge onto things. So these are great for shell work, especially if you're going to be doing integrations, for cutting the shells so that they can fit together, or removing stuff from the inside. Very, very useful. And finally, of course, we have our pipe cutter, which is, of course, good for cutting brass. If you're unfamiliar with how these actually work, you put the pipe in there and then tighten it down until it is relatively tight. You don't want to try to crush it. And then you're going to rotate your pipe and tighten it a little bit more, and rotate your pipe a little bit and tighten it a little bit more, and slowly but surely it will start to cut through the pipe. Make a couple of passes, tighten it down, a couple more passes, tighten it down, and it will cut cleanly. Very evenly, very cleanly, and perfectly perpendicular, which is very important. Now the downside is, of course, that as you may have noticed, it crimps it slightly. Puts a little bit of a crimp on it, which is not good for the barrel side because it makes it difficult to get the dart in. Now it's very good for the side that's going to be inside the blaster, so you do want this end crimped, and so it's nice that it does that automatically, because this end, if it's crimped, it will then prevent the dart from getting vacuum loaded, which is, if you load the blaster before you prime it and you have a perfect seal, it can pull the dart back into the plunger tube, and then you're going to have to disassemble the whole blaster to get that dart out. So having it crimped at the back end is a good thing. But it's not a good thing at the other end, and you need to be able to open it back up, which is where your needle nose pliers come in. You can put the needle nose pliers into the pipe, push in, and again twist. And after a couple of passes, it will flare it back out, and now we can quite easily load the dart in. You can go even further, so it'll actually flare out more, which will make it easier to load. If you just want to get it level again, you can do that as well. It's kind of once you've gone too far, it's a little bit more difficult, so be careful about that. But yet another wonderful use for your needle nose pliers to go along with your pipe cutters. These ones are big enough to cut just about any of the sizes of brass we're likely to use. It might not go quite big enough for some of the PVC that we use. It's a very small little one, but again, very compact and very handy. Apparently it'll go up to 5/8, according to this. 1 to 16 millimeters. So 1/8 to 5/8, 3 to 16 millimeters. So it will do pretty much all of the brass sizes that you're ever going to encounter in the Nerf hobby. Maybe, I don't know if they have 3/4 for Mega, but brass can run for it. So those are all of the tools that come in this kit and how some of them can be used, as well as your Clowny patch. There is then, of course, one secret 3D printed item that I'm not going to show off. That will be the surprise, but I will tell you that it will be useful in the next box. Not required, so you don't have to get this kit in order to be able to do the next one. So if you already have all the tools and you don't want to get another set, or you don't want to spend the money on another set, that item will not be required in the next one, but it will go well with it. It'll go hand in hand with it. It'll be a little extra something. So there you have it. This is box number 2, sponsored by Clowny Nerf. It should now be live and you can order it. They will ship soon. I think they'll ship a week after this goes live, give or take. I'm not sure of the details, but it is $30 once again. Actually, I think it was $35 last time. Maybe it's gone down. I don't know. But for the $30, you get all of the starting tools you need one clowny patch, and a nifty 3D printed gizmo. So, there you have it. If you're interested, get yourself one.